Crestwood was the kind of place where nothing ever seemed to go wrong. Neighbors knew each other by name, doors were often left unlocked, and children played safely on the sidewalks until sunset. In the middle of this picture-perfect setting lived Emily Carter, a young mother who had become a familiar face around town. With her wide smile and gentle voice, she carried her toddler, Noah, everywhere she went. People often admired her patience and praised how attentive she appeared. At the grocery store, she was seen carefully choosing Noah's favorite snacks, and at the park, she would take endless photos of him laughing on the swings. For those who watched from the outside, her life seemed ordinary and full of love. But everything changed one chilly autumn morning when Emily called emergency services in a panicked tone, reporting that Noah was not waking up. By the time help arrived, it was too late. The 2-year-old was lifeless in his crib, his tiny face pale and still. The news quickly spread through the town, sending a wave of shock and grief through the close-knit community. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers mourned the loss, believing it to be a heartbreaking accident that had robbed a mother of her child. In the days that followed, Emily appeared calm but exhausted. She accepted condolences with quiet nods and allowed herself to be comforted by others, but her eyes seemed strangely distant. To the people around her, this could easily have been the look of a grieving mother, numb from unbearable pain. Yet, behind the sorrowful glances and folded arms, questions began to linger. Noah had no known medical conditions, and his sudden death didn't fit the life of a healthy, energetic toddler. What looked like tragedy was slowly beginning to look like something far more unsettling. When investigators began piecing together the circumstances of Noah's death, small details refused to sit comfortably. The first discovery that caught their attention was the bruising on the child's arms, faint but undeniable. While Emily quickly explained it away as the result of a fall, doctors noted that the marks were inconsistent with a simple tumble. The bruises looked more like they had been caused by someone gripping too tightly. For detectives accustomed to searching for hidden truths, this detail raised an invisible red flag. Neighbors also began to share their own observations. Some recalled hearing muffled crying late into the night, followed by sudden silence. Others admitted they had seen Emily looking unusually withdrawn in the weeks before Noah's death, often leaving her house in the early hours and returning long after midnight. These accounts, though unconfirmed, painted a picture that clashed with the perfect image Emily had always displayed. Her behavior during the initial questioning deepened the mystery. Instead of breaking down in tears, Emily appeared oddly composed. She answered each inquiry with precision, as if rehearsed, and her tone lacked the raw grief investigators often encountered in similar cases. To many, this could have been a sign of shock, but to seasoned detectives, it suggested something else: detachment. The official reports listed Noah's death as unexplained, but the police could not let go of the nagging inconsistencies. They searched for patterns, combed through medical records, and started examining Emily's digital footprint. Slowly, threads began to appear, connecting small clues into a larger, darker picture. What started as whispers of doubt soon grew into a quiet determination among investigators. This was not a case they could leave behind. Something about Emily Carter's story simply did not add up. As detectives dug deeper, they began to unravel a side of Emily Carter that no one in Crestwood had ever seen. The woman who had built her reputation as a devoted mother was living a double life, carefully concealed beneath the surface of her small-town charm. Financial records revealed large debts piling up, many of them linked to online gambling platforms where she had spent long nights chasing impossible wins. What appeared to be harmless late-night internet activity was in fact a dangerous obsession that drained her savings and left her desperate. Alongside the financial troubles came other troubling discoveries. Emily's social media, once filled with cheerful photos of Noah, showed signs of carefully staged moments. Behind the camera, she had been frequenting bars and nightclubs in neighboring towns, spending money she didn't have. Investigators found receipts for expensive clothes and jewelry, items she could never realistically afford on her modest income. Friends later admitted they had noticed her constant complaints about money, but they dismissed them as the ordinary struggles of single parenthood. The most alarming discovery was the life insurance policy Emily had recently taken out on her son. It was unusually large for a child his age, and the timing of it, just months before his death, was impossible to ignore. Though such policies were not illegal, the context made it deeply suspicious. When detectives connected this with her growing debts and reckless lifestyle, the theory that Noah's death was a tragic accident became harder to believe. Every new detail chipped away at the image of the loving mother the town thought they knew. Emily was no longer seen as the victim of unimaginable loss but as someone with both motive and opportunity. The contrast between her public persona and her secret life shocked everyone who once pitied her. The investigation took a decisive turn when forensic results came back from the lab. Traces of a strong sedative were discovered in Noah's system, a drug that no doctor had ever prescribed to him. Detectives immediately questioned how a 2-year-old could have ingested such a substance. The answer came when they uncovered a series of online purchases made under Emily's name. Records showed she had ordered the medication through an unregulated website, using a prepaid card to conceal the transactions. What had once been speculation was now evidence pointing directly at her. Even more chilling was what investigators found on her phone. Hidden in her internet search history were phrases that painted a disturbing picture of intent: safe ways to make a child sleep, how much sedative is too much for toddlers, and life insurance payout timeline. Each search was like a breadcrumb, leading detectives closer to the horrifying conclusion that Noah's death had been anything but accidental. As they searched her home again, officers found an empty bottle of the same sedative tucked behind a row of cleaning supplies. Its label had been scratched off, but lab tests confirmed it matched the drug found in Noah's body. This discovery left little room for doubt. Emily had not only administered the substance but had also tried to cover her tracks. To the public, Emily still appeared to be the grieving mother, quiet and withdrawn, clutching photos of her child during memorial gatherings. But behind the scenes, the truth was surfacing piece by piece. Investigators now had motive, method, and evidence of premeditation. What had begun as a tragic mystery was transforming into a deliberate crime, one that shattered the very foundation of trust between a mother and her child. When Emily was finally brought to trial, the courtroom was packed with reporters, townspeople, and families who had followed the case from the very beginning. The woman once pitted as a heartbroken mother now stood in silence as prosecutors revealed the chain of evidence that led to her arrest. Piece by piece, they presented the chilling story: the sedative found in Noah's body, the hidden purchase records, the empty bottle in her home, and the disturbing search history on her phone. Every detail painted the picture of a mother who had carefully planned her child's death for financial gain. The prosecution argued that Emily's motive was rooted in desperation and greed. Drowning in gambling debts, facing eviction, and unwilling to give up her lifestyle, she saw her own child as a means to escape. The life insurance policy became the centerpiece of their case, showing how she valued money over the life of her son. Each fact was delivered with precision, leaving the jury stunned and the audience horrified. Emily's defense attempted to argue that she was overwhelmed, unstable, and incapable of such calculation, but the evidence was too strong. The jury did not see a grieving mother, they saw a manipulator who had hidden behind sympathy while committing an unthinkable act. When the verdict was read, the room was silent. Emily was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. For the town of Crestwood, the case left a scar that would never fully heal. Neighbors who once offered her comfort now struggled with the betrayal of realizing she had deceived them all. The tragedy became a grim reminder that sometimes the greatest danger comes not from strangers, but from the very people trusted most.